Hey everybody, George Moorhead with Bentley Properties, and today is our February Q&A. So we're going to take a look at the top 8 questions that were asked of us that are the most common questions that we've been hearing, say, over the last 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. And this way, because we see the questions so many times, it just makes sense to, let's get it out to everybody. This way we can really just kind of help bring everybody up to the same educational level and, bring you guys moving forward. So again, my name is George Moorhead with Bentley Properties. Been practicing for about 27 years, and we've got a ton of information that each week we try and get out to you guys that is just going to help you make the best business decision. Now, here's the best part. There's zero obligations to this. There's no strings attached. If you have a question, reach out to us. Just ask, because here's the really cool part. We're going to give you as much vetted, unfiltered information. And again, we don't stalk you. We don't do anything like that at all. If there's an opportunity to earn your business, that's awesome. But if you're working with somebody, don't worry. Just ask us a question, and we'll do the best we can and make sure that you, again, get the best information to make the best business decision for you and your family, and of course for your retirement, right? Because this is what this is. We're building our retirement portfolio, or some folks are looking at downsizing, whatever that might be. So anyway, so we got the questions. I was told that we need to add their names to it so they know that these people are real. All right, so Sean asked this question. He says, George, what are the 3 most common problems you see buyers have when purchasing their first home? That's a great question, Sean. And shockingly enough, during our initial meeting with many first-time home buyers, we go through each one of the pitfalls that a first-time home buyer would typically see. But there are 3 that kind of reign towards the top. So the first one is they get excited and they overpay for their home. So one of the concerns is that if you don't have somebody that you're working with that is pulling the emotion out and making sure that you're making a good business decision, somebody that has the guts to say, hey, you know what, I know you appear to love this house, but this is not a good fit for you. Here's what you told us in the beginning. Here's where you're at today. You are compromising this, and are you sure that's really the best business plan for you and your family? That's probably the number 1 pitfall. The second one, they lose their home to another buyer because they weren't 100% prepared. And what that means is, and it just cracks me up sometimes. So when we talk about being prepared, one of the top things is making sure that you are financially approved. Not pre-approved, not pre-qualified, approved. Take it all the way through underwriting, subject to an appraisal. And the reason is, and here's the logic. You're about to invest tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars on probably the most valuable asset that you'll ever own. Why wouldn't you make sure that you go all the way through to make sure 100% all of the requirements, and even the ability to get a lower rate if you do a couple of things with your credit? Why wouldn't you do that? To give yourself that 100% assurance, since it doesn't cost you anything. You got to ask yourself that. So make sure that while you are considering that purchase, dude, go all the way through the financing. Get it done. Get it all the way through, subject to an appraisal. Now, if your lender says, I'm not going to do that, in fact, we had one just the other day. That's what prompted this question again. I'll send you 3 that will. They'll take you all the way through, subject to, to an appraisal, plus you can close in 11 days. That means you get to come in like a cash offer. So anyway, item number 2, losing out on the home because you weren't prepared. Item number 3 is buying the wrong home. Now, we have discussed this sometimes in the past, but understand that when you take a look at buying a home, you don't think about what you need today. You need to think about what you need tomorrow. Tomorrow is the one that seems to come faster and faster. people, even though I consider myself young, I am noticing that there used to be 12 months in a year, and I swear I think there's only 8. And I was talking to Bill the other day, and Bill said, George, there's not 8 months in a year. What are you talking about, man? There's 4. So it gets faster and faster and faster. So what I'm saying is, in kind of a halfway comical way, is, hey, listen, you need to plan for tomorrow. One of the most common things that people say is, hey, I'm looking for a house, 1,800, 2,000 square feet, and I say, great, tell me about your family makeup. Well, I have my husband, my wife, or significant other, and I have 2 kids. And I say, hang on a second. Historically speaking, experience speaking, you're gonna probably want to start that at about 2,500 square feet, because otherwise the homes tend to not have enough of the rooms or the space to accomplish your goal. And after a few homes, people are like, oh, you know what? You're absolutely right. We got to bump this up. Okay. You need to have that planning. You need that person that is helping you as a professional, giving you that very specific feedback. Okay. Not meaning that to feed their pocketbook, but to ensure that your pocketbook is protected. And that's one of the key things. All right. So those are the 3 most common problems we see with buyers. So paying too much, losing out to another buyer because they weren't prepared, and then of course, automatically just buying the wrong home. All right, I keep looking up because that's where my camera used to be. I lowered it down a little bit to because people said, when you do the Q&A and sit down, make sure it's at your eye level. So I'm trying. All right, Larry asks, what do you think the market will do this year? There it is, right there. Larry, we already sent you the February market update, but here's your quick rundown. The spring market is going to be aggressive. Our inventory is still less than 1 month, okay? Even though we have seen month over month, we actually have seen a 30% increase in listings coming on market. Our available homes for sale is about 3% lower. But what's really interesting is pending sales are up over 40%. Not unexpected. Again, the interest rates are low. Buyers are coming out. We're heading into our spring market. This is everything that was expected for a seller. It is utopia for you right now. Well, within reason, right? You have the perfect storm because you can also buy and sell within the same market without getting hurt. Anyway. We are seeing multiple offers, but the other thing is buyers are a lot smarter about the multiple offers this time, which is really awesome to see. We just had one in Bothell, and that multiple offer, they ended up having 4 offers on it. What's really interesting, the maximum over list price was only $5,000, which was reasonable, and the home was well priced. That's why they pinged that level of activity. And it's not that people, didn't go crazy because they could. Our clients definitely could have, but they didn't, so they're being smarter about it, which is awesome. So sellers are getting smarter and smarter about pricing. Buyers are getting smarter and smarter about how best to move forward. So anyway, that means that I guess we're all getting smarter. All right, I like that. Okay, Larry, you've got the video. Let me know. I do things see tapering off Q3, Q4, so don't be surprised if the market starts to become a little sluggish, especially after mid-May. It is a historic slowdown until after the 4th of July. Then it'll peak up a little bit, falls off as kids are getting back in school. Don't ask me why. I do know why, actually. I just won't go into detail. But anyway, expect that market, and then of course we have a bump October through about mid-December. So there are your market times to consider. All right. Beth, I love this one. Beth says, George, is a crack in concrete a sign of imminent failure? And of course, that's a pretty broad question. So my first question back to Beth was, okay, so hang on a second. What kind of concrete are we talking about? Is it like a driveway? Is it a sidewalk? Is it a foundation? Where's the concrete we're talking about? And she's like, well, it's in my garage slab. I said, okay. Is it new construction, old construction? Where how old is the home? And she's like, oh, it's newer construction. I said, okay, perfect. Okay, so understand there's 2 kinds of concrete. She's like, okay. So you write these out. Okay. Two kinds of concrete. There's a concrete that is cracked and the concrete that will crack. Just understand hairline, little hairline crack. She took a picture of it, and I actually had to blow it up really big. It is just a very, very small hairline crack. It just missed the relief joint. You know, if you see in concrete, you know, in sidewalks, when you see those lines that go across, you know, every 4 feet, they're not there for decoration. It's, you know, they're there to, if it's going to snap, they're hoping that it snaps there, or if it's going to crack, we hope that it cracks there. But really what we look at when we consider concrete, Beth, is this. We look for separation or deviation. And we're looking for things that are in greater than 1/8 of an inch. And I guess that's what, maybe 1 centimeter-ish, something like that. All right, so what we're looking for, separation, you know, where it starts to pull apart, or deviation. Deviation is what you will see a lot of times on sidewalks, where you see one, you know, crack, you know, sidewalk or even driveways, and you know, there's that elevation difference, and that's what you're going to look for. You know, when we talk about separation, that's where it pulls apart. Many times we'll see that when we have, you know, a drainage issue, or if it was a bad ground prep, something like that. Albeit there was one on a house that we saw the other day. They actually, the builder ended up building, you know, I don't know, they didn't get it on bearing soil, they didn't compact, you know, whatever it is. I can't speculate, I wasn't there when the home was built, but the foundation definitely snapped and fell down 2 inches. That would be a concrete problem. And that is a separation and deviation at the same time. We do have some pictures. We can, we'll go through some of that. I'm going to bring my buddy that I was in the fire service with, Drago with Ability Home Inspections, who says he's giving the rumor that he might retire. He's actually, I'm going to coerce him in here, and I've got some pictures, and I'm going to have him do like a 5 or 6 step, you know, building inspection, you know, kind of horror stories of building inspections. That's what we'll call it. Something like that, right? All right, moving on. Okay. Beth, hopefully that answered your question. All right. Let's see. Jeff asked me, George, is water in the crawl space normal? Oh, yes and no. Okay. You know, it depends on the area. Okay. So we're in a rainforest. Understand that. There are certain areas, as you know, as you head out east, you know, and then like in the Bothell area, Snohomish, Sammamish. Look, we've got a lot of natural springs, okay? And with the natural springs and with a water table that comes up, right, as it rains and everything comes down, you know, the water, it's like a glass, right? You know, the water is going to come up, and if your house sits on the top of the glass, you know, that water table goes up and down in that glass all year long. It depends on, you know, how much rainfall we have, right? How much snowpack. And that's where your drinking water and what feeds the crates and everything else. Okay, well, if you have natural springs, you've heard of an artesian well, right? There's one there off of I-5 and 164th. There's an artesian well there. In fact, the health department put up a stand and said, here, and people line up to fill their water with artesian water. That's exactly what it is, right? And of course, believe it or not, you know, that well is down in the low point, right, of the hill on 164th. All right. Natural, high pressure, water pumps up. Okay, the same thing will happen in a house. It's a given. Now, are there things to mitigate this? Of course, and they're very common. If you're building a home, one of the things we do when we're building a house is we put in what's called a positive drain. So we intentionally slope and put drain pipes in to ensure that any water that might come up from the water table itself, or maybe even from the side, and mostly from the water table, it's going to go in, and it's going to go down naturally out the pipe, out the system. It's gone. Second option is to have a sump pump. Okay, find the low point, have a sump pump put in there, and it's like the opposite of a toilet, right? As the water fills up, and instead of the water shutting off on the toilet, it triggers it, starts the pump, pumps it down, it fills back in again, pump starts up again, and it cycles during what we call the wet season. Again, totally normal. You might have a third option, or a combination of the second and the third, the sump pump, and what's called a interior French drain or interior perimeter drain. Again, You know, you dig down 12 to 18 inches, about, I prefer about 12 inches wide, put some rock on the bottom, put some fabric, you put a 4-inch drain pipe, perf pipe in there, you put some more wash rock on top, you put some fabric on top of that, and that becomes and the fabric just keep the dirt out, and that captures, because path of least resistance, all the water comes into that cavity, whether it's around the perimeter, whether it's in the center, whatever it is, and then positive drains out. Okay. There you go. It's not a big deal because it happens all the time. If you're in Bothell, where I built a plat, I would say probably at least 80% of the homes need or have a sump pump or some form of positive drain system. It's totally common in this area. Same thing with Sammamish. Okay? We're not in an arid area. Well, the reason you have all these beautiful green areas and awesome tasting water is because of all of this. So it's not a bad thing. You just need to prepare for it, right? Okay. It's kind of like a car. You know, it's going to snow here occasionally, so you need to either have snow tires or chains. It doesn't need it all the time, but sometimes. That just doesn't mean when it snows you don't do anything, right? There you go. There's my analogy for you. All right. Bodine Construction. We've referred them out for years and years and years. Probably one of the top, what we will consider water intrusion companies, B-O-D-I-N-E, Bodine, B-O-D-I-N-E, Bodine. Great company. Let them know we referred you guys, and they'll do a great job for you. All right. Let's see here. Jaime asked, what is the difference if I put a second layer of roof on? Okay. Well, first of all, don't do it. There's the misconception that with, oh my gosh, well, if I have one layer of roof on, if I put a second one on, that's got to be like twice as good. No, it's not. In fact, it's the exact opposite of that. It'll actually reduce the life of that new roof by 30%. Plus, you're adding more weight to your roof, okay? So understand that roofs are designed for a live load weight, anywhere between 35 and 40 pounds per square foot. So by adding more and more weight on top of that, you actually reduce the snow load weight. Or, do you ever get on your roof and walk? You start to mitigate part of that weight that it is able to carry. It's not a great idea. Besides, you're going to have to haul it off later anyway. Some people say, oh, but George, it's so cheap. No, it's not. Okay, so the average roof, roofs are measured or valued in what's called a square. One square is 10 by 10. So if you have a house that is 13 squares, right, that's 13 10 by 10 sections that they're budgeting, right? So on average, it's $100 per square to do a tear off, and anywhere roughly about $300. And again, it's like carpet or tires. There's a lot of different levels, but it's about $300 a square to go ahead and put a new roof down. So roughly about $400 a square. Okay, so when you take a look at the real cost of tear off at $100 a square, that's not that much. And if you really are price sensitive, it's better to pay a little more than you plan than a little less than you should have. To take that off, make sure you don't have any bad sheathing, make sure that you are fully well flashed, because you're never going to quite get it as good, with the what we call an overlay. Do it right. Do it right the first time. You're going to get 30% more life. You're going to get a better quality. Your house is going to be happier, because a happy house is a healthy house, right? Anyway, no, you don't want to put an overlay. Tear it off and do it right the first time. Here's my 2 cents for you. Sorry. All right. People say I sometimes get on my little soapbox, and I have to be firm sometimes, because really there are some ideas that are what I call good in practice. Good in theory, bad in practice, and that's a good in theory, bad in practice, doing an overlay. All right, moving on. Melissa says, George, what do we say when we contract your vetted contractors? Oh, this is super duper easy. All right. First, just tell them that we referred you, because it is you telling them that we are the reason that they're there, that they give you the discount. It has nothing to do with us. I don't get a kickback. I don't get anything other than you guys get great service. So I get the satisfaction to make sure that you have good quality people that are going to give you the best price, the best service, and that really is what we do. We lead with generosity, right? That's why we do so much with Children's Hospital, because our goal is to lead with generosity and really give back to the community, and this is one of the great ways to do it. But you do need to let them know to get my pricing, because yes, I'm sorry, a referral always goes a little bit better when you receive that. And there you go. But there's no cost. There's no strings attached. Just understand, if you have a problem or if you want me to take a look at the work, hey, just let us know. We'll pop out. All right. Let's see here. A tool. Tool says, George, what would you recommend to a buyer starting to look for a new home? Oh, that kind of goes with the one up above. Should put that one up above. All right. Well, but it's a slightly different answer. All right. The first thing that a first-time home buyer really should start planning for is payment shock. So again, get fully underwritten. Go all the way through the process. Dan Golden at Cornerstone, Juliana at Qualstar. They're both absolutely fabulous things. In fact, Dan Golden, happy birthday, big boy. Today's Dan's birthday. You may not wanted the whole world to know that, but now they do. All right. So start setting that aside. Again, if you qualify for $2,000 and your rent is $1,000, take that difference, that $1,000 difference between your rent and what you qualify for, put it into your savings account for your down payment, if not more, and live off that. Don't change it, don't touch it, and start to acclimate to it, okay? And that gets you beyond payment shock. The most common form of payment shock that a lot of people get is, when they buy a car, and they're like, oh, they're all excited, and then they say, okay, yeah, it's going to cost you $800 a month, and they go, ah, and they seize up. Well, it's whether it's lack of preparation. Well, it's lack of preparation of understanding, right? Okay, so understand payment shock is your biggest one, so prepare for it. All right. When we talk about buying cars of all things, do not, if you're looking at buying a house, the number one, do not go out and buy a new car. I cannot tell you how many people do that. Oh, I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to buy a house next year, so I'm going to buy a car now. Don't. That has got to be, I think, probably one of the number one things. The second one is excessive use of a credit card, whether it's going up in the balances or they just use it a whole lot and whatnot. Be very careful with that, because credit is based on risk, and they base it on, can this person manage debt? Okay. One of the reasons I will never hit the top of the credit score world, which is, I think, what, 850 or something like that. The reason I will never hit it is I use all, my American Express for all of my business expenses. Okay. Well, I pay it off every single month. Well, I get dinged because the credit bureaus say, oh yeah, you can't manage debt very well because, you pay it off every month, which to me, that's economic blackmail. But every once in a while, I'm supposed to carry something. Well, no, I don't. I just pay it off. Whatever. I'll just stay in the low 800s instead of the high 800s. Whatever. I don't care. So anyway, just understand. Don't go overboard on your credit card debt. Right. Not planning. Not planning for your future. Again, kind of what we addressed up above. You need to make sure that you have a very solid plan. Everything is ready to go. And you must have that foresight. Okay. Last one, number 8, George. Oh, Johnny asked, George, why would a seller consider selling off market in a low inventory market? Okay. Really, John, that's a really simple one because we do a number of off market sales. The first one is that it allows a seller still to get market value for their home. Okay, so there's no loss. The second thing is they don't have to make the typical updates to the home like a normal seller in today's market that would be going on market would need to do. They're going to know exactly how much money they're going to have in their pocket to reinvest in the next home. And really importantly, it's safe, right? It's safe because they don't have a bunch of people coming through their home. The protection of not publicly putting hey, my home is for sale, which, depending on the family makeup, could be a little bit more sensitive, all right? Plus, there's no cost, there's no obligation to it. As far as heading down that path. Plus, on the home that they're going to purchase, the seller's going to have more confidence in their offer, knowing that their home is already sold, just pending a simple closing. So there are four, really technically five key reasons why a seller would consider selling off market. But it's a great question, John, and we do get it quite a bit. And the benefit is that, hey, you get to be introduced to homes that the rest of the buyers out in the community don't have access to, right? So that's a benefit both ways. However, you do need to allow that seller more time to secure their next home. That's not very long, but understand they do need a little bit more time, all right? And there's a trade-off. Okay, so that's it. That's our February Q&A. Those were the top 8 questions over the last couple of weeks. If you have questions, post them up in the corner. Let's go through it. Let's get some really great information out to the people. We do that because you ask really good questions. In the meantime, share this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. You guys have a great day. Take care.